Right, hi there. On today's training we're going to be talking about blogs, and we've got a three-part series to introduce you to blogs and different ways to write them. Well, actually in a way it's four, because we've also got the writing a blog title as well. But today this is the introduction to blog writing. So first thing we're going to look at is what exactly is a blog. Now, there's differences between a blog and an email and an article and so on and so forth, but the main difference is that a blog is a short article. It's about 300 to 500 words. So if you compare that to an article, articles are much longer, between 500 and 1500 words. So you can see there's a massive difference there. Technically, there's a difference between an email post and a blog, but since we use most of the blogs to form an email, don't worry too much about the difference. When you've written a blog, you can use it on lots of different things. So you can break it down to use it in social media, you can write it on an email, you can put it on LinkedIn, and that's both polls to the blogging site and LinkedIn groups as well. And when you use a blog in lots of different ways, it's called repurposing. Okay, so bear that in mind as a term, because we'll use it as we go through. Okay, so today I'm going to teach you the basics on how to write a basic blog, and then on the other training we'll go into more detail on different techniques and different methods that you can use. But a blog essentially has three elements to it. The first thing it does is sets out a problem. So a problem being, what does the person reading it, what are they experiencing when they read a blog? What we do then is, rather than just leave the problem there, because we could just say Janice has a problem tying her shoelaces because she's 5 years old and it's really difficult for her and her mum helps her. So instead of just doing that, we're going to agitate or enhance that problem, so we make it bigger and deeper, so that the person who's reading the blog really feels that. And then the third thing we do in a blog is provide the solution. That's why you talk about what the client does. Where it's easy to go wrong with blogs is to just write about the solution without setting the problem. Let me just get rid of that box come up there. So what I mean by that is, when I've seen blogs that are written, especially by people who are just starting out writing blogs, what they typically do is write about the client's solution to any problems. So they'll say, you know, this client has brilliant IT service and can be great at, you know, solving IT problems, rather than setting out the problem and really sort of going deeper with that problem as well, that agitation of it. So let's explain what I mean by this in a bit more detail. So before, when we were doing the blog plan, we used the dentist as an example, and the reason why we're doing that is because everyone can relate to going to the dentist. Hopefully you've been at least once in your life. So the blog we're going to write about, we're going to take a title that we set out in the blog plan on level 2 training, and that was about fear of going to the dentist. So we're going to use that as our basis for writing our blog as we go through this. Whenever you start writing a blog, use the blog plan, because the blog plan is going to set out titles and ideas for you that you can use in your blogs. Okay, so that's a really good area to start with if you're kind of stuck for ideas. In fact, really, you shouldn't be writing just a generic blog. We should always have a blog plan for the client. Whenever you're writing the blog, don't start with the subject line, don't start with the title of the blog. We're actually going to work on that, the last bit. You just need the subject line, and I'm going to show you some ways to write some some titles as we go through this training. But for now, we just kind of need an overall general idea, which you hopefully have got from the blog plan. And then we're going to start with a problem. Okay, so the problem is, let's imagine you're sat in the dentist and you're waiting to go into the dentist. You're really worried and you're feeling a bit nervous and apprehensive about going to see the dentist. Perhaps you really don't like going to the dentist. So what I want you to do now is just pause this training for a second and see if you can write a paragraph about how you might feel. Okay, so hopefully you've paused the training and written your own paragraph. Here's my paragraph. Now it's going to differ from your paragraph, so don't worry about that. You know, it's different styles and different experiences and things like that. So here's what I've put. I hate going to the dentist. Every time I go, I literally sit in the reception area with my stomach in knots, dreading hearing my name called. When I was eventually called, I slowly made my way down the corridor, dragging my heels. Luckily this time it was just a checkup, so when it was all over, I felt much better. Okay, so you can see that we've basically set out a problem, and I think anyone reading that will be able to empathise and see where you're coming from with that, and then might also go, yep, me too, I hate going to the dentist as well. But we can go a little bit deeper with this. So what we're going to do now is agitate the problem, and we're going to make it worse. So in my paragraph there are a number of places that I could make the problem worse. So let's have a look at those. So I've highlighted them here in different colours so you can just see how we can agitate this in a little bit more detail. So I hate going to the dentist. Now we could work on that a little bit more. You know, I hate going to the dentist. It's a fear I've had since childhood. You know, my first experience was, and this is actually true, my first experience was going to the dentist and biting down his finger because I really didn't like what he was doing. So I could agitate that a little bit more. Then I can also agitate the bit in blue here. Every time I have to go, I literally sit in the reception area with my stomach in knots, dreading hearing my name called. So what's it like for that person walking into reception? What is it like kind of sitting there? Do I distract myself with anything? How do I feel? Are my palms sweating? You know, we could make that problem worse. Then the bit in purple. When I was eventually called, I slowly made my way down the corridor, dragging my heels. So again, we could add on that the dental nurse calls you in. We could add on, you know, you really didn't want to go, and we could make that issue a little bit worse there. And then the bit in green. Luckily this time it was just a checkup, so when it was all over, I felt much better. So that's not much of a sentence about what actually happened when you went into the dentist, so we could make that problem worse as well. Okay. So let's agitate one of these, so let's make the problem worse. So I'm just going to agitate the blue bit here. So I've got the first bit here, but could I make it worse? Well, yes I can. Obviously I tried to distract myself with a magazine, but it never worked and I ended up reading the same sentence 3 times. I could go deeper than that as well. I could literally make this problem as deep as I want to, and I could agitate, make worse all of those areas. So I could literally write a bit more on each of those bits there to make it a bit worse, a problem. But, you know, this is one I've chosen to agitate. I mean, to be honest, for a blog, it's probably not long enough, and one of the extra techniques that we're going to teach you later on is to go a bit deeper with that agitation, a bit deeper with the problems. The more you can set out the problem for the reader, the more they'll be able to relate to it, and the more likely they are to buy your clients' products and services because they can relate to the problem. Okay, so once we set out our problem and once we've made it deeper and agitated it a little bit, we're going to need a transition paragraph, because the reason why we use a transition paragraph is otherwise it would look a bit strange if we went from building the problem to immediately talking about your solution. Let's show you what I mean here. So you can see here, this is the beginning of my blog. I've built my problem, I've agitated it a little bit, and then we go straight into the problem solution. So we said, obviously I distracted myself with a magazine, but it never works and I end up reading the same sentence 3 times. Well, don't worry, ABC dentists were experts at helping nervous patients. Do you see how it kind of doesn't quite flow there? So what we're going to do instead is put a little bit in dark blue here, just to kind of link the problem with the solution. So instead we've now put, sound familiar? This is the story of one of our patients, Mary, who hated going to the dentist before she met us. And then we can link it, then we can start going on to the solution. What she didn't realise is that ABC dentists were experts in helping nervous patients. Do you see how that flows a little bit better? Because we've got a link between the problem, the agitation, and the solution there. And then, when we do our solution, we're going to start building the solution now. Now, for most of you, for the blogs I've seen so far, the solution bit isn't the problem. Actually, you're pretty good at writing the solution bit. It's a problem agitation you probably need to work on. But here's a few tips that we're going to cover in our solution, and we'll build on these in future training. So in your solution, try to stress how you do things in your solution. And if it helps, write down some bullet points that you want to highlight before you write the blog. So things like friendly receptionist, pictures on the ceiling so you can distract yourself when you're in the dentist chair, specially trained dentist, hypnosis, etc, etc. So now it's your turn. So what I want you to do for this blog is write your dentist blog. Remember the formula: problem, agitate it, and then create the solution. Create your title afterwards and watch the training to help you do that. And remember, in any blog writing or anything you're doing, actually, ask for help if you get stuck. This is what your team leader's there for. This is what other people in the team are there for. Because, you know, if you've only been here for a short while, you won't know all the answers. I still don't know all the answers, and I've been running this for quite a number of years now. So ask for help if you get stuck. And then, of course, remember to proofread your blog when it's finished. And that way, it always goes through the system, and we can make sure we get a perfectly spell check, grammar check, etc. blog out to the client. So finish off your dentist blog and show it to your team leader, show it to me to check that you've got the formula right, and then start practicing this formula: problem, agitate and solution, with some of your clients' blogs and see how you go.